All right, let's get into it. We're going to talk about a really interesting quirk of the human mind, one that explains why putting together that flat pack furniture can feel so rewarding, even if the finished product is, a little less than perfect. Come on, you know the feeling. You've been there. You finish the project, you step back, and even if it's got a bit of a lean to it, you get this huge rush of pride. You look at it and think, yeah, I made that. Well, that feeling actually has a name, and it has some pretty powerful implications for how we value everything around us. So let's put a name to that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you look at those slightly crooked shelves that you and only you put together. It's called the IKEA Effect, a term coined by behavioral economists Michael Norton, Daniel Motion, and the famous Dan Ariely. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's our tendency to just fall in love with things we've had a hand in creating, no matter how they actually turn out. Our effort, our sweat, our labor, it literally makes us value the object more. And this idea, it's not new at all. Back in the 1950s, when instant cake mixes first appeared, they were a total flop. Nobody was buying them, and the companies were completely stumped. Turns out it was because it felt like cheating. So a psychologist named Ernest Dichter had a genius idea. Just take out the powdered egg, make the baker add a fresh one. That one tiny bit of effort was all it took. Suddenly people felt like they were actually baking, and boom, sales went through the roof. So, why does this happen? What is going on in our brains? Well, it's not just some random quirk. This effect is actually plugged into some really deep fundamental psychological needs that we all have. Let's kind of peek under the hood and see how it works. Okay, so it really boils down to five main things. First, there's effort justification. If we work really hard for something, our brain needs to believe it was worth it. Then there's the sense of ownership. Saying I made this just hits different than saying I bought this. It's deeper. Third, you've got emotional investment. You remember the struggle, the little victories, it creates a story. Fourth is perceived competence. Hey, you finished it. It makes you feel capable, smart. And finally, there's this little thing where we just hate waste. We've already put in all that work, so we're sure not going to admit it was for nothing. To really put this to the test, the researchers came up with this brilliant, kind of funny experiment. They got a group of people, the builders, and had them fold their own little origami cranes and frogs. And the results were just fascinating. The builders, the people who made the origami, were willing to pay about 23 cents for their own creations. But when they showed that same origami to other people, they basically saw crumpled paper and said, I'll give you a nickel for it. Now here's the wild part. The builders valued their own amateur work almost as much as a completely separate group valued origami made by an expert, which they priced at 27 cents. It not just perfectly shows the huge gap in perception, right? To us, our creation is a masterpiece, a symbol of our effort. To an outsider, it's just a thing. Our own labor dramatically inflates the value of an object in our own eyes. So, as you can probably guess, this isn't just a fun little fact about our brains. Companies have figured this out and they have gotten very good at using it. Once you start looking for it, you see it everywhere. Nike by You lets you feel like a shoe designer. Lego's botanical sets aren't just for kids, they let adults build something beautiful. Meal kits like HelloFresh, they're not just selling you food, they are selling you the experience of being a chef. Build-A-Bear is a perfect example. You're paying extra for the chance to stuff your own teddy bear. Even the Ukrainian brand Etnodim lets you embroider your own traditional shirt. And yeah, even Netflix gets in on it with those interactive shows where you feel like you're co-directing the story. It really makes you a smarter consumer when you realize you're often paying for an experience, not just a product. And we're not just talking about feelings here. This has a real, measurable impact on the bottom line. A study from Deloitte found that customers are willing to pay a 20% premium for products they get to personalize. Think about that. We will happily pay more money for the privilege of doing some of the work ourselves. That's kind of wild. But here's the crucial twist. The IKEA effect isn't a guarantee. It's not magic. There's a catch. And there are very specific times when the whole thing just fizzles out. It all comes down to one thing, successful completion. When you actually manage to finish the project, you get that amazing feeling of pride and competence. The effect is super strong. But if you fail, if you get frustrated and give up, or if your hard work gets undone, all that effort just turns into frustration, and that feeling of love for the object, it vanishes. They actually proved this with a really clever Lego experiment. They had one group build a cool Lego set, but then, right after they finished, they were told to take it all apart. And even though they put in the exact same amount of work, this simple act of unbuilding their creation completely erased the IKEA effect. The special value they placed on it was just gone. And you can see it so clearly in the data. Look at this gap. The solid line shows the people who finished building their IKEA box. The dashed line, that's the group that got stopped right before they could put in the final pieces. The value they placed on the box just plummets. Getting to that finish line, that feeling of completion, is absolutely everything. So let's bring this all together. What does this all really mean for us? When we're looking at that wobbly table we built, what's the big takeaway here? I think the best way to look at it is that effort isn't a cost, it's an investment. Every ounce of energy you pour into something is like you're depositing emotional currency into it. You're building a connection, a story, and a sense of pride that you just can't ever buy off a shelf. So the next time you're looking at that slightly lopsided shelf you built and you feel that little burst of pride, don't second guess it. Don't think it's silly. You're not being irrational, you're just being human.